Hello, everyone. Welcome to CraftQuest on Call. I'm Ryan Ireland, and this is a special edition of CraftQuest on Call. What are we calling it? The Dot All After Party. We'll see how much of a party this is. So,
What's
a
the bar?
couple housekeeping things before I introduce my guests. The first one is that, if you've been watching Dot All, you will immediately notice that I'm not nearly as funny as Matt Stein. However, I did have to one up Matt. I have not one, not two, not three, but I have 4 plants in the picture here. So no globe, but I do have 4 plants. So try that for a change, Matt. All right, I have my usual guest, Mr. Andrew Welch, who's my co-host here on the live stream. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Doing good, Ryan. So are you going to call this between two deciduous plants or something? You know, like between two ferns?
Between 2 plants that I have not yet been able to kill, which is something that I'm pretty good at. I have one window in my office that faces an alley, and they usually live on the windowsill. Otherwise, they will perish here in my dungeon of an office. Andrew, we've had a busy couple of days, or I guess it's been like half days. Although yesterday when 11 a.m. Central Time rolled around and the conference wrapped up, I felt like I had already worked an entire day. So, what's been your impression so far or not so far because it's over? You just wrapped, or they just wrapped the conference with Henri Helvetica, and I wasn't able. I was on a phone call, so I wasn't able to tune in. But it sounds like he shared some of people's favorite photos, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, since this is an after party, should I go get an alcoholic drink or something? Is that condoned on camera?
I have water.
I mean, I do have a 1:45 p.m. client Zoom. What could go wrong?
No, I mean, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing could go wrong. But let's make things. What's that?
You asked me about impressions.
Yeah. Go ahead. I would like to get your impressions.
I mean, overall, I really enjoyed the talks. There were a number of them that I found really interesting to look at, and I like the contrasts and approaches that people were taking to using Craft CMS. And I enjoyed the conference. It also made me miss an in-person conference.
I had
kind
the
of
same
missed
feeling.
being there in person. And I know Pixel and Tonic, they had to do what they had to do, and they actually got kind of screwed over. So I'm not denigrating it at all. I think they did an amazing job putting it together on such short notice. I'm just talking about in general. There are lots of people that I saw that I'm like, oh man, I wish I was there in person. You know what I mean?
I did get a sense of the general like that same vibe that we get, like people just getting excited about the content of talks and some of the back and forth conversation. And maybe we're all just so used to like text chatting like so much now, especially during the pandemic, that we're pretty good at it. But I did also miss the in-person conversations. I didn't miss all the travel. I mean, it was certainly nice to do the morning, all my typing I did this morning from a sofa at my house before coming to my office. But I did miss seeing everyone in person.
And I'll tell you what, I don't know, man. I honestly would love to be in Amsterdam right now. And Ryan, I apologize for this, but I promised Tyler that I would do this. So hold on a second.
Oh. Tyler is Andrew's youngest son. Not sure what Andrew is up to.
All right.
What is that?
I promised him that I would wear you never watched Bob's Burger, man. This is Louise Belcher.
Okay.
It says she doesn't go anywhere without her bunny ears. Like that's the thing.
So fortunately, everyone on this live stream is that I have some backup in case we need to turn off Andrew's camera. I want to introduce a couple of other guests. You're not just going to be able to hear just the 2 of us. There's going to be 4 of us today. So I'd like to introduce John Morton and Caroline Blaker to the live stream. Hey, John and Caroline, how you doing?
Hey, Ryan.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to bring some more people into the fold for this live stream because it's important to hear many more takes than just my hot take or Andrew's hot take about .all, about the things that were announced this morning. We had another state of talk from Luke Holder on the state of commerce. And I think, and I know yesterday there was the Twitter Spaces conversation that Ben Croker and Andrea Demers led, which was amazing. And went on for a long time and had such great. I actually had to run an errand and I had it going in my car the whole time because I wanted to keep listening to all the good conversation. So I wanted to start on. Let's just start with like zoom out. We learned today that Craft. No, there's a picture of Andrew in the Discord with the ears on. Let me close that window. Hang on.
It's a very glamour shot.
It's Andrew has much less like personal shame than I do, I guess, because I don't know if I could ever pull it off. I feel like that's quite the feat.
You're assuming that I'm pulling it off, and I think that might be very generous.
And that's the give and take. It's like if you think you can, you can.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so going back before I got distracted is the so we had the other state of, which was state of craft commerce today. So we had each day was led off by the state of craft and then the state of craft commerce. And the unifying part of that is this new release cycle. And so, Caroline, I know you do client work. Is that right?
Yep.
Is like, what are your thoughts on the idea of a annual release cycle for the major releases? And now that commerce is also going to come into sync with that as well. Is that something that you feel like would help with your work?
I think it would be tremendously helpful as far as like planning and getting clients ready for that, because a lot of times you have to tell them not to work for a couple days while you go in and have enough time to do whatever magic it is without losing their work. So I'm looking forward to seeing sort of a holiday for that if it comes to like this year after year thing where it is done within 360 or so days apart. You know,
Right.
like what if we get this one day? What if we get to decide on it? I mean, we probably don't, but I'm sure a new flavor of barking will emerge when they decide on when to do that, and that it will be annual. And you know, some of us will be just fine with it, and the rest, and some of us will be like, wait a second, I usually take that off for my birthday.
Right. Yeah. What? Oh, your birthday is on January 2nd?
Oh no, not mine.
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was confused.
So they're releasing it on January 2nd?
No, I don't. So that's what I was going to follow up with. We don't have it's just annual. And they had already announced that the beta of Craft 4 would be first quarter 2022. And then stable, was it second quarter was going to be stable? Like actual release? So that's not even.
Yeah, that would be the release.
Yeah, so it's not going to be the beginning of the year.
Given that information, I'm feeling very end of summer about it, which made me wonder if, you know, if they released it in August, if some of the European folks would say, "Hey, that's our vacation."
Oh, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So we don't know exact dates, but it seems like at least there's going to be like a prediction. And I also think that it seems like they're trying to not have like save up any, if there's going to be like breaking releases or breaking features or things that require a bit more work, that those are all going to be saved up for those major releases. Is that what your understanding was as well, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they want to have things on a more predictable release schedule, and they also don't want it to be the minor point releases can have breaking changes. So their mantra is going to be in the bug fix patch versions and then also the minor versions that there aren't going to be any breaking changes ever.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's very difficult that there would never be anything breaking. It's software, you know, but they're going to try really hard that is not something that's happening. I guess my only comment about it is that, and someone else voiced this as well, I'm sure they'll figure it out, but there is a roadmap, and let's say they put something on the roadmap and it's a major feature and they say this is going to be in 4.0, but they have a hard deadline when 4.0 is going to be released. Do they then punt that feature, and what does that do to planning for this stuff? Now, that all can be solved by project management and ensuring that you're focusing on the things that you've promised for the roadmap. And, like anything, there's a trade-off in software. It's either, do we ship it on this date or do we cut this feature?
Mhm.
It's a very common thing that needs to happen. So my guess is they're probably just going to pick major things that they want to be as part of a major release and really, really make sure that there is intense focus on those to make sure that they make it. And then maybe some of the smaller things could fall by the wayside. I don't know. That's just a supposition.
John, is there anything in the announced features that are coming that you're looking forward to that would help solve some problems maybe that you have?
Actually, the feature is the one we're already talking about, which is that predictable release cycle, because I think it solves the problem of selling, maintenance updates and things like that. Because usually, like with clients, I'm trying to get them to agree to like a 12-month, like, oh, this is what's happening over the next 12 months. So we're going to do security releases this month, and this month, major releases sometime, whenever the next major release is. That problem is now solved. And so that being, actually, that's a feature that's great for me. The other one that I'm hoping still makes it into the next release is two-factor authentication. That's actually a really big concern for me. Like one of my biggest client that I can't name out loud, but security is always a top. I mean, that's like the hardest thing to get through the system, and having two-factor authentication built into Craft will be very welcome.
Yeah, and Brandon did mention that as one of the things they're working on, and that the challenge is to implement it in a generic enough way that works for everyone, and that seems, that's obviously one of the hardest parts about building a software tool like this, is that it has to be as usable as possible by as many people as possible. And then also he talked about authentication chains. And the list of steps, some optional, some not, and just make it as flexible as possible. But it sounds like
that's what I was gonna. I'm sorry. That's what I was going to add is that, John, it is not just two-factor auth; it's multi-factor auth. Mm-hmm. So that's what the chain means. Yes. Is you can have as many factors to it as you want. Yeah, and that is slated for Craft 4 for now.
Yep. Yeah, the way Brandon talked about it, I was reading between the lines as like, we're really trying to get this, but if it doesn't happen, it falls to Craft 5. So I'm just hoping that makes it through. But my biggest takeaway, the biggest feature is predictability. And now I think that is the biggest promise feature.
It's more so than I'm trying to look through my notes here of what else they said was coming. I guess the conditional fields wasn't on the list, right? Initially,
it's not. I think there are two parts to this dependability thing that you're talking about, John. So one is when, right? So it's important to know when the release comes out, and then the second is what, like what is going to be coming out. And they did issue a roadmap, so hopefully they'll be utilizing that for these releases. So you will not know not only when a release is coming out, because it's nice to know that the release is coming out on such and such a date, but you also probably want to know what is going to be in that release. And I think that's the other part of the equation there.
Yeah, well, so to say it more generically though, I can predict that there are no breaking changes for the next 9 months, and then in month 12 there are breaking changes. So that is the predictability I'm talking about.
Got it.
What the different features are, I don't know. That roadmap is a roadmap. It's not set in stone. But the promised predictable thing is no breaking changes for 9 months, breaking change in month 12.
Right. And that also lets you schedule for your clients, when there might be some major work that's going on. That makes sense. And it's interesting. I don't know how much of the new release schedule they did for us, for people, so we had something to rely on, or how much they did for themselves, so they had something more predictable to rely on. I'm assuming it's very likely a combination of both, but from what Brandon was saying, this is something that the team is really interested in having for themselves too.
And I know that they use Linear to manage their roadmap, and then even at the bottom of the roadmap page, it says it's updated daily from Linear. So it sounds like that they're just exposing to the public some of their. I assume it's also, if there's any unannounced things, right, or something else they're working on that's not on here. They
Like
won't
Touch
have-
ID or something? Just kidding. No. Face ID. So,
Touch
Okay.
bar.
yeah.
So let's see. So features is one thing. I think one of the things I saw in the Discord chat yesterday is that, I know people want to know as much as they can. Like, when you're working with clients or customers, you want to have as much in your control as possible. But the reality is when you're using another company's tool, you're not always going to be in control of everything. But one of the things that someone said was once a year updates or major releases is great, but does that mean, and you alluded to this, Andrew, if something doesn't make it, does it then get pushed to the whole next year? And like, how does that work? And my sense is that maybe they'll try to figure that out as they go. Maybe if something's, I don't know, conditional fields doesn't feel like a breaking change. Like if that gets added. Oh, I just got the look from Andrew. You think it would
No
be?
way.
Okay. All right. I was, maybe if you're not using them, then.
Well, here's the thing. So I think that the infra to support things like conditional fields is very much a breaking change in terms of the way that they wanted to implement it with field instances and some other stuff. Now, what they may do is they may lay the groundwork for some of these breaking changes in existing releases in a way that it will kind of allow them to work on it, but not actually have it as part of the product yet. But I would definitely consider that conditional fields, just from a technical point of view, would be I would assume that would be a breaking change, but well, maybe, okay. So probably not a breaking change from a front-end developer point of view, but I think almost certainly from potentially a module or, well, I don't know. Now you got me questioning myself. Maybe they could pull it off in a way that is, no, they can't because of all the infra that they would have to change to go along with it. Never mind, it's breaking change.
Well, in terms of like plugins, and Andrew, you have a handful of plugins in the plugin store. I assume that the regular like major release schedule helps the plugin developers. It just kind of organizes also the beta release, so everybody has time and it's more predictable that I'm only going to have to potentially make changes and schedule time for new releases for my own plugins once a year if there's like breaking changes in Craft as well.
God, I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
At your ears?
Dennis Frank made a plug-in icon of the bunny ears for. I'm sorry, in Discord. I'm sorry, I couldn't help.
Where did he share that in Discord? Hang on.
Yeah, I tried to keep it together. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, for sure. And I remember we got a number of the plugin developers together, and we asked Brandon for not just a beta release, but give us an FC, like give us a final candidate, so that we know like this is what you're planning to ship, and this is ground zero. We really have to start testing it. Even more predictable if there's a release schedule and we know on such and such a date this thing is going to happen. So for sure, that will be helpful, I think.
Yep. All right. How many of you have used eager loading in your Craft projects before? I assume everyone.
Yeah.
Caroline is like a
I
reluctant.
think I did.
Yeah.
Caroline doesn't look eager.
Oh, well, I'm not an expert here.
So this whole idea of collections now is coming in Craft 4, and I'm certain this is a sure thing. And the way, like, I think there's like a cool technical aspect to this, but to me, the main thing is that you can eager load without having to go in and like update your templates, because you don't have to then access everything as an array item anymore. You can just do .collections and everything just works as an array. So that's like the biggest. It's just, to me, it almost seems like more people will use eager loading because it's less of a pain to use. But I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah. Any thoughts, John, on eager loading or collections? I know it's not really the most exciting topic.
I think they said the addition of it sounds great, but it also doesn't make it so I have to go back and redo the templates where I've done all those fixes already.
Right.
So.
Right. Yep.
And that was welcome to me. It's like, okay, I don't have to fix all that other stuff that I've already sort of coded around to make the current system work.
Right. Right.
So.
And I'm enjoying
But yeah,
the trolling that Andrew's getting in Discord. This is super fun.
I, for one, am looking forward to your homework list, Ryan. Collections course, please.
Yeah.
If anyone understands it and that one person is you, we're all good.
I do have to dig in. I don't think it's gonna be that difficult, but that's usually the problem, is that you're like, oh, this is actually really straightforward, and then like 5,000 words later, you realize that
There's
there's
ins
actually
and
a lot
outs
to it.
everywhere, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So
Also,
my
a
way to
storybook.
think of it
You said you were
is,
going to do a class on
ju-
that.
Oh,
so real, just as a super quick summary. So an array is just a collection of things, right?
Right?
It's a list of things, right? So it can be a list of strings, a list of numbers, like that's an array. And that's when you do .all or .one, you're getting an array back of the entries or whatever it is that you're querying. Collections are sort of a smart wrapper around arrays that let you do things like it will let you narrow them down with certain criteria from the set that you've already found. It will let you pick out a subset. It will let you sort them. It lets you do a whole bunch of stuff. So kind of consider it an array with superpowers, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm. That does make sense. What do you all think about? Let's see. I'm trying to look at one thing that stood out to me. Oh, custom sources. I don't feel like anyone really. I don't know if that was covered yesterday on the after conference Twitter Spaces thing, but I mean, it seems really simple, but it seems like it could be amazingly flexible for like author experience stuff. So the idea is that you can create your own custom source, give it a label, and then choose what kind of elements should show up in that source. And I think that's super cool. Anyone get any thought to how they would use that?
Yeah, it's kind of like a smart channel, right? You can say, and it'd be really good for content authors where you could limit it. And the fact that they're adding this now to project config, so you can make system-wide changes as opposed to changes only for you as the current user. So you could do something like, let's say you've got a complicated structure that has a number of different entry types in it or whatever. You could define a custom source that it says, okay, from this structure, we're only going to show entries of this type. And then the content author would see just that kind of filtered view, and they could click on it and they would have quick and easy access to it. And yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yep. August.
So this,
So I was going to say,
Does
just
that
from the
mean
chat real
that
quick.
in that custom source, you could make a new one that falls just within that custom source? Does that make sense?
Say that one more time.
So like, let's say it was like a custom source that's only, I don't know, barbecues, but not all types of events.
Mm-hmm.
Does that? And if I
Yeah.
go in there and I click new, am I going to make a new barbecue and not a new picnic?
That I don't know. I don't know whether it's just a listing or whether it's that as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. The only thing I saw was I took a screen grab of his screenshot. So I wasn't able to see, the functionality, but I guess we'll find out in the beta whenever that's ready. I did want to jump over to the chat just so we include all the nice people that are watching. August Miller said it's a big deal for newcomers. He's talking about the collections. If Pixel and Tonic advocates for using it in lieu of .all going forward, it'll help avoid esoteric type and method errors. I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, if everybody just uses collections, is there a downside to just always using .collect? It seems like you're set up to do eager loading, and you don't have any of those downfalls of using .all. So I wonder if that's where we're going with like that. Lindsay says it seems like we're halfway, or seems like it's halfway between an array and a model, or I guess we're an iterable object. I guess that's what.
Yeah, it comes from the Laravel world, and
Yeah.
it's a wrapper around an array because it's very useful to do things with arrays. But PHP has got an imperfect number of all sorts of methods for dealing with arrays, and rather than just duplicating all of those, they wrapped it up in a nice object functionality that you can just do a lot of really cool common stuff with lists of things.
Mm-hmm.
A thought that occurred to me when that announcement was made was something that came up like a year ago when the topic of like, is Yi going to be the underpinning of craft versus Laravel being the underpinning of craft? And I wondered if if they were related. And I don't know if that came up at all during the conference.
Brendan did mention something in chat. Did you want to go, Ryan?
Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't hear anything mentioned about Laravel or Yi, because somebody did ask whether if Craft 4 was going to be on Yi still, and I had replied, yeah, like I don't think that's on the table at this point. But I don't know, Andrew, did you hear something else? I didn't hear anything.
Just what Brandon mentioned in chat. So I would fully expect Craft 5 also to be on Yi. And I would also expect that probably it's not going to be like flipping a switch, like, hey, we're switching over to this other thing. I think it's likely that they're going to start pulling in some functionality from whatever framework they decide to use. And they're already doing it. So for instance, Symfony is a PHP framework, and they're already using a number of Symfony packages. And collections is from Laravel. And they're using that already. So they're already pulling in packages from these various places. And interestingly, Laravel is based on a number of Symfony things as well. So those are the two things that they were looking at, eventually kind of transitioning to either Laravel or Symfony. But I would expect it's probably going to be, iterative and over time, and not like flipping a switch. And they're not just going to, take years to just gut it and rewrite everything in something else. I think that's probably the approach they're going to take, but that's just speculation.
Yeah. And in the chat, Russell says that Adam, is it Wathan or Wathan? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Wathan.
It has a great book on collections. And I know that's Laravel specific, but it might be a helpful base material. But I'll definitely
It'll work just as well, because it's literally the same package, and it's called Refactoring to Collections, and it's an ebook. So yeah.
Cool. I'll definitely do something that's craft specific, but yeah, we've talked about this before, Andrew. That's would be one of the benefits of moving to Laravel, is that it opens up just a whole ecosystem, not only developers, but learning material and opportunities to expand your tool set, all sorts of stuff. But
here's the thing, they can do that by doing what they're doing with collections, right? So Laravel it's really sort of a app construction kit. So it's a collection of packages that you pull in, and collectively it's called Laravel, but you can use that to build stuff. Well, they can pick and choose pieces of that they want to pull in and start using, such as collections, for instance, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that even if they don't, let's say they switch to Symfony eventually, they're still probably going to be pulling in some packages from Laravel. Again, a lot of Laravel is based on Symfony too, right. And these are all things that are not necessarily mutually exclusive. It's not a black and white or dividing line kind of thing,
And and that's something that Alan just asked. He said thoughts that Symfony would be more appropriate than Laravel.
I think that's what Brandon said he was leaning towards. I haven't done tons of research into what would make the best framework for a CMS, because I'm not crazy. I have no desire to write my own CMS. So I don't really know, but I would just trust that the Pixel and Tonic team will do their research, and they'll pick the thing that is right for them. And again, I'm not expecting that we're going to see a massive transition from one to the other. I'm expecting it to be gradual, and they're just going to pull in bits of functionality and deprecate one thing and then start using the other. And my guess is that's how it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon announced that there's almost 900 plugins in the plugin store. So like a switch like that would touch all 900 of those plugins, not to mention the thousands and thousands of craft installations. It'd be pretty major. That would be that would definitely be what we call a breaking change. So let's talk about the other major pillar in the craft ecosystem, which is craft commerce. This morning at I guess it was nighttime for Luke, 5 a.m. for the Pixel and Tonic team over on the west coast of the U.S. For me, it was a mere 7 a.m. So Luke gave the State of Craft Commerce talk. Couple interesting announcements. Luke was the originator of Craft Commerce and the sole developer for a long time. He's got Nathaniel and Dale on the team as well, helping maintain and work on that project. He kind of went over just all of the fun stuff and great stuff that people are building. CraftQuest, if you're watching actually on the site right now, this site uses Commerce and has used Commerce since it was Commerce 2 was in beta when the subscription support was added. So I'm deeply immersed in Commerce. And one of the things that Luke shared was that like they have similar challenges as other plugin developers because Commerce is a plugin, and so they have to stay on top of changes with Craft, and they're trying to do some things to make that easier and make Commerce more stable and more predictable as changes are rolled out. The first part was the moving into that Craft release cycle. So Commerce 4 is going to be out around the same time as Craft 4, and then 5 and 6 and so forth. So they're going to be moving together in terms of releases. It'll be easier to know, like, does this version of Commerce work with this version of Craft because they will be released at the same time. So let's see. Commerce 3.4 is the current version. It's going to be the last, just like Craft 3.7, the last release before they go to version 4. And let's see what's coming. Oh, one of the things they mentioned was that they're going to start integrating some things that have really only been done in Commerce actually into Craft Core. Like some of the content, like some of the fields for content modeling. So like the money field is what you switch over from using float, so the money field is going to be, or currency field will be much more reliable. It's going to use the money composer package. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not sure if anyone here is. So that'll be.
I want to make a wager with you though, Ryan. Live on air, I want to make a wager with you.
Oh gosh. Okay, go ahead.
You said that the money field right now is a float. I'm going to bet you $10 that it is not a float currently.
Can I look at something?
No.
I don't want to.
A float.
All right,
float.
I'll take
Or
any
a
bet for
float.
$10. I mean,
All right, good.
like just for.
And I'm thinking there's no way it is,
entertainment.
because one of the basic tenets of Commerce is that you never, ever, ever use floats for money, because
Of rounding
floating point
errors.
numbers. What's that?
Because of the rounding errors, like with.
Well, floating point numbers are approximations,
Right.
which is you can get really weird results sometimes. So almost never are floating point numbers used for Commerce stuff.
So he said
I
that
will.
they're going to replace floats to help with bugs that occur with rounding on discounts and other.
Oh my God.
So
Oh my God, this is going to be awful if I owe you $10. Oh my God.
yeah, I don't. No PayPal though or anything like that because I'm not paying any fees on the money you send
Okay.
me. I want the full 10.
I'm going to send you a bag of pennies. I don't care if it costs me more than $10 to ship it to you.
That's the worst bet you've ever made, Andrew. Don't you have a
Yeah.
background in poker?
I thought it was a good bet because with Commerce, or with money, you almost never use floating point stuff.
You're
But
in-
I'm going to inspect the code and I'm going to see if maybe it was just a misspeaking, and under the hood, it actually is using something else. So we're going to see. We're going to look.
I feel like now you're insulting my intelligence and my ability to listen. So now I'm taking it. But you're the one with the ears on your head, so I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't get too,
Yeah, how can you
True.
take me
too
seriously?
worked up. So does anyone here, I mean, other than me, does anyone here use Commerce on the regular? Caroline? Or
Gosh, I
John?
wish.
Okay, you
Mm-mm.
wish.
I haven't broken in yet. It's really hard to break into because clients always want you to have the experience with it. When you don't have experience with it, it's really hard to get that first client.
Mhm.
We actually lost a really big and qualified lead because of this. It was sad. It seemed like a sure thing, and it just disappeared because we didn't have commerce experience. And I've wanted to break in. I really have.
Yeah. It's definitely a different beast. You can also partner with someone just to augment your team, maybe. That might be an option.
Well, I mean, it was when you're in like a business setting and like it has to happen fast. There's
Right.
no like pulling in, like, here's this expert that we just got. Like, that does not look like what the client wants. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I'll be the speaker on behalf of Commerce and anyone else in the chat. Andrew, are you monitoring Discord? I don't have it open currently.
I am monitoring it. They're mostly just making fun of me, so my
Oh, well.
feelings are very hurt. But other than
Oh,
that,
wow.
it's all good.
Wow, look at
Better you
this.
than me, Andrew.
Roger just put in a new avatar for you, Andrew. I think that's quite appropriate. Even with the beard and everything.
That's not even me. That's someone else impersonating me, just so you know. This is
Oh.
the level that it's reached to. But anyway, forget about that. So, Caroline, I want to ask you. So, what was your most memorable takeaway from the State of Craft or any of the presentations that you saw?
Well, my most memorable takeaway was Jemima's talk on the web vitals and how she just broke it down. It's when you get to a talk like that, you come into this is sort of an expert level conference for Craft CMS developers, and I felt very much like I was being taught like a beginner student of the browser, just exactly what the heck this was. It's a bit like when I take on a really big lesson and I'm about to learn it, I tend to have this feeling of like discomfort and sort of like queasiness. Like, why don't I know this already? Almost like a guilt for there being this vast chasm of stuff that is in front of me that I've never seen before, and especially having it be so elemental to our work. So having the the LC what's and the JS5. I don't know what all the things were. I wrote them down here. LCP, FID, first input delay. Like, my gosh, I actually have things to Google now. And that will make me a better developer, and it'll make us a better shop, because what I learn, my team learns. And then sometimes I post it on the blog for everybody else to learn, because like, why not recycle it, right? Why not make a post for somebody else? So I have a lot of like shuffling to do on this topic. As far as the State of Craft goes, I was super excited about hearing about collections. It sounded like they had heard my perhaps my mental processes with the element model and all of the not all of the errors, but just the struggles that there were. And they're like, wait, we got you. There's this thing now called collections coming, and it does the this and the this that you want, and you don't have to struggle. And it's like, oh, okay, that's really nice. And the filtering they announced with that too. I have it underlined, but I didn't add any details, perhaps because there weren't very many. More than anything, I'm just kind of excited to try Craft4 and Craft Commerce. I'm not into, if I break in, great. If not, whatever. If you see an art shop come on board on aquarianwebdesign.com, you know exactly what I'm up to.
You have to build your own e-commerce store. You have to start a business, Caroline.
I've got a lot of art hanging around from a long time ago.
See?
So maybe there's a fit there. I don't know.
There you go. I think that's what you should do. So Caroline, I had the same feeling about the talk that on manual accessibility testing that Lupe Camacho gave today. I actually also felt like I was taking notes this whole time on that, running notes that I was doing, and I found myself stopping my note taking because I was so enthralled by, especially the video demos that she did, where she showed the tools as they were working. That's like, again, similar to what you said about all of the web vitals. It's the same thing for me. That seems like something I want to go and install some of these tools. I'm familiar with JAWS and screen readers. When I was in graduate school, our next door neighbor was a blind graduate student, and I helped him with various things, but also learned a lot about how he uses his computer. But she broke it down so nicely with the understanding the different personas and then using the tools to test those personas and then showing those videos. That was one of those things where I realized that, there's some gaps in my knowledge, as well as, it's like these fundamental talks can be really powerful, especially when they're not like they're craft adjacent, but still important to the work that we do.
It's sort of, self-revealing over the course of us just being with our nose in our work. Like, a lot of stuff just sort of grows out of nowhere, like accessibility. We started to hear about it, and then suddenly it was like, you're getting sued over it. You better start learning it. And then, the web, I think, what's this other one I was thinking about? Like accessibility, but also, never mind. But it's like I don't know. Just go on. Blank.
No, all good. How about you,
So
John?
I think it's interesting. Oh, go ahead, John.
John, anything stuck out to you, like in terms of where you had a, wow, like I need to brush up on some fundamentals moment?
Oh, well, so earlier this year, I did an accessibility class through, I think it's called DQ or something like that. And I came away from it going, gosh, there's so much I don't know. And I got that feeling again. But, but I kind of came away thinking, everyone is kind of in this. I don't really know if I'm doing it quite right, but we're trying to collectively improve our game. So it's encouraging that this sounds selfish. It's encouraging that I don't think I'm as far behind as I assumed I was, because everyone's still trying to play catch up so much on it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just seems like a really difficult mindset or point of view to take on this work that you're under a time crunch already, but it's important, and there are tools, and it's good to have exposure to these tools over and over again to make them part of your workflow, because it's easy to forget to put yourself in the shoes of someone else who can't see your webpage, or prefers to listen to it, or has low vision. Those are important things, and it's easy to lose your perspective when you're on deadline.
One of the things that she said, which kind of surprised me, was, and I'm trying to find it in my notes, was
don't use ARIA unless you know you need to. That one?
Yeah. The first rule of ARIA is don't use ARIA if you don't know, and I kind of put a little note, like if you don't know how it impacts your site on screen readers, right? You can actually do more damage
to one of
by
my
using
favorite movies of all time. Love the reference, Lupe.
the Fight Club reference. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's probably, if I would recommend anyone, and this is mostly to myself, like an area to read up on is like, what is ARIA, and kind of start with your general reading and then work down from there, rather than trying to jump into just applying it. So understand what it is and how it works and why it's there, I think would be super important for people.
So if I could, I just wanted to mention something that Caroline said that I thought was interesting, which is that in watching some of this, that she felt queasy about the stuff that she didn't know. And the reason I think that's interesting is I need to keep in mind that I have a different, everyone feels differently about these things. When I see new stuff, I'm like, oh, cool, like new toys that I can play with. You know what I mean? But I think it's really important for me and other people to keep in mind that it certainly can be overwhelming when you say, when you look at this stuff and people are like, well, okay, in addition to the 8 hours that I've got to work during the day, I've got another, 2 or 3 hours of learning this thing.
Yeah, I agree. In the chat, August just said, he said, I love that accessibility is slowly getting folded into the performance conversation as like a vital de facto component of every project. We're definitely seeing that for sure.
But Caroline, what makes you feel queasy about this stuff? Is it that you kind of feel like, oh my God, I don't know this stuff and I should know it, or what is it?
It's involuntary. It's almost like a stress
like
reaction.
Acid reflux?
And it's personal. I don't expect anybody else to have it, though I do suspect other people do have it. It makes it...
I think they do, yeah.
It makes it harder to talk, and it makes it easier to listen, because I almost go into a mode of not fight or flight, but sort of like, I've got to listen or I'm never going to learn this. Like, this is the one chance, and this is like some big thing they're showing me. I don't know. It's it plays out. The key to it, if you're one of me's, is to learn to sit with the discomfort, like almost like next to it. Like, yeah, you're there, and I'm here too, but we're not the same, right? And to just take your time with it, because it does dissipate, and you'll learn something. You'll be able to apply it like the very next time you're in that situation. Just by not paying attention to the discomfort, but by paying attention to what is causing it.
Yeah, I like that. One of the, I have this saying of like, that I kind of say to my kid all the time, is that we have to be careful that we don't compare our insides to other people's outsides, like where,
That's wonderful.
right? So where how we feel like, because it's not the same. And one of the things that you find is that if you're learning something, let's say you watch some sort of video course somewhere, and you're learning from an expert, it can very easily make you feel like diminished in some way because you don't have that knowledge yet, but you're actually coming from, like, you might be the expert in something else, not that thing that you're learning. And it can be humbling to put yourself in the position of being a learner of something that's new, especially when, if we're, billing hourly for our work to where you have limited amount of time and you have and you have to stay up on an industry that's moving very quickly. So
I'd
You
also
have
like
to,
to
though,
speak
Ryan. You
as a
have to.
source of
I mean,
exhaustion as well. Like, you get tired when you're in this process and you
Mhm.
need that rest, and you get more tired when you are combating some sort of resistance to learning, which I think is what this is, even at a very tiny, tiny level.
yep.
And it can be very, like, I don't know, Andrew, I heard you say that you'd worked today after yesterday, just hanging up from the conference. And I sort of felt the same way. Some of us, the Americans, probably all had to go do a work day. I felt similarly the day before when I had a meeting where I had to herd cats. And they're very similar energies where you're trying to just scoop up stuff and put it in a pile that
Wait, literally?
makes sense to you. I mean, kind of. You're like, this point's over here, this point's over here. They work together, but I don't know, I'm using a visual sort of comparison, but in many ways, like, if you have if you're the act of learning in a state of brand newness is very much an active, like get it while you can, like get it while it's passing through your ears, get it, take that note, because that thought is gone. You got to pay attention to the next one. It's very, very kinetic, I think, in the brain. So, I mean, if you feel tired after a talk, but you didn't do anything but listen, like, I feel you, I'm here, and you're gonna get that. You're gonna learn, but I mean, this is a little bit of a feedback thing for Pixel and Tonic, but we need like a little bit more break between all the sessions, just a little bit.
Yeah, it was bam, bam, bam. We had a couple unscheduled breaks because some people's talks just went shorter than planned, but
Right.
definitely.
So Ryan, I have a quote too. It's
yeah.
not nearly as is fitting for me. It's not nearly as intellectual or insightful or any of the kind. It's actually kind of dumb. It's sort of a Buckaroo Banzai-ish, if any of you have ever seen that movie. And it's just that you don't know it until you do, right? I mean, no one is born knowing everything, and you don't know it until you learn it. That's just the way it is. And I don't know. I just kind of go with that simplicity. Maybe it's the kind of thing where I'm dumb enough that I can just kind of bumble my way through life without stuff bothering me. I don't know.
Have you ever taken 2 drinks and then started working?
I don't know if I can get in trouble for this, but I've taken 2 and I've taken more than 2.
Well, I mean, personal projects, it counts, right? So, like, I don't know, you have your Saturday night to yourself, everybody's out, and you take a couple of drinks and start working. That's where I fall into that mindset of, hey, this is cool, let's get into it. Like, it's all here for me to just smorgasbord like as much as I can until I get exhausted. And it's the lowering of inhibitions.
Well, I wanted to mention what you said because we were just presented with a fire hose of information from Pixel and Tonic and the presenters. So I think it's worthwhile to listen that, different people receive that differently. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I agree. So, John, I wanted to ask you about sins. It's a weird setup.
Oh God.
Okay.
So
Better him than me.
Henrik Henschel gave the talk, "The 7 Deadly Sins of Author Experience." Were you able to tune in for that? Yeah.
I was watching it and I was more obsessed with his art because I actually I have to go back and watch this presentation again. But I enjoyed it. I was more into the Harmonious Bosch artwork.
Oh, God. That's actually really good feedback, because one of the things that I kept thinking about was, like, I'm thinking, I wonder if he went to like whatever the version is in Europe of postgrad, like, because this seems like very much like an academic approach to this topic, which is to take each of those and then tie them to like the
An
7 deadly
archetype.
sins, right? I thought it was fascinating, and it was it really, and then the whole presentation of the whole thing really.
Because I will admit that I started seeing the artwork, and while it was going on, I was researching Harmonious Bosch in another browser window. I got distracted, went down that rabbit hole because I took an art class just on him, back in college, and I'm like, oh yeah,
Lucky.
this is cool. This is cool. So it's one of the presentations I actually have to go back and rewatch. So
Yeah.
So it was a great presentation, but I didn't get out of it anything he intended. So.
Well, so he tied each of what he said, like the one of the deadly sins of author experience to one of the deadly sins that and so things like explanation is laziness, text image is gluttony, like the overuse, and the restriction is voluptuousness. He couldn't say it either. I can't say it. Linking is envy, which I thought was like fascinating. The idea that you, and he said something really good. Not all users are aware how important it is to link pages between each other, like within the same site, for sharing additional on-site information, and how good that can be for SEO. Like, to me, that was so fascinating that, and of course the envy part was, to me, it seems like kind of like hoarding your content for yourself and not wanting other people to have it. But
interesting.
that was really really fascinating. I had never thought that would have to be taught, but of course, it totally makes sense. Link between pages. Yeah. And I was thinking of like, what are the tools that we have available? Because with each of his sins, he gave some suggested tools that you can use, whether plugins or native functionality to overcome that sin. And
to help
Andrew,
you get to heaven, huh?
What's that?
To help you get to heaven.
To help you get to heaven, to the AX heaven. This is it. That's
right.
What. Yeah. Yeah. I guess he could have brought it. That's what I would have done. I would have brought it full circle with the cheesy ending and Michael Landon walking up a set of stairs. Highway to Heaven, anyone? All right.
So when you mentioned Harmonious Bosch, this is how. Well, first of all, I had to miss that presentation, unfortunately, so I don't have the context from it. So I was doing parental duties type stuff. So I heard Harmonious Bosch, and I'm like, man, that is a great name for a metal band. Like the word Harmonious Bosch. That's great, but it's not. Okay. That's not who it is at all.
It's not her. Yeah.
No.
No, I wrote down some of the plugins he mentioned along the way, like the Notes plugin. I'm like, I got to go look at that level entry plugin to like template limitations is all I have in my notes here. So I did get some out of it, but they're just chicken scratch notes that basically I need to follow up on.
Yeah. Well,
many of these plugins I hope have a very short shelf life. I'm hoping that they are workarounds that Pixel and Tonic is going to engineer into obsolescence with great new authoring experience stuff.
Oh, I have a joke.
Oh,
you made me think that I had a joke from yesterday when Craft Cloud was announced. My immediate thought, and I've already told Matt this joke, but I said, "Is Matt Gray okay?" You have to follow Matt on Discord or Twitter. Yeah.
Hang on, let me find my. There you go.
Yeah, right.
Very good, John. Good.
How do you know when it's a dad joke, John?
You have to explain it, and I would have to explain that one.
When it's apparent. Oh gosh. This is where Ryan glances at his watch. All right.
I don't have a dad bod. I've got a father figure. All right.
It's better, actually. It's better.
Okay. Let's see. Any other takes from the whole conference, or any specific talks or ideas? I know we have a lot to to sort through, to Caroline's point and John as well, kind of go back and revisit some of these ideas. Nobody should feel, someone had mentioned imposter syndrome. You're not an imposter if you don't know it yet. So you should definitely go check out all the information. If you want like a guide, or at least what went through my ears and then out my fingers, you can check out the notes that I kept. It's just craftquest.io/.all, all one word. These are not edited. Yesterday's are slightly edited, and I tried to add in links. I did try to put in screenshots of people's slides if it was something that I couldn't articulate clearly myself. Check that out if you need a guide for going back and revisiting people's talks between now and when the talks are released as recorded videos, which I think Leah said would be maybe the end of the week. I give them all the margin and room in the world for turning this around, since they're the ones that had to get up at 4 a.m. probably to pull this off. But check out those notes, and then of course there's the Discord channel, all the different channels on the Discord server for the conference as well. If you weren't able to make the conference, then definitely check out my list of stuff. I linked where I could off to other things. And apologies to Henri Helvetica. I wasn't able to make all of his talk because I had a phone call, so my notes are blank there. But maybe I can try to put some things in. I'm not sure how much of it was note takeable in terms of
that guy can entertain. Man,
yeah,
he's just electric. So that was fun to see him.
Yeah, I saw the Discord chat kind of just going wild with it. So that was good to see.
His topic was on joy, and I think it was a nice ender for this. It was about connecting and joy, I think. As far as what I took from it, I think it was very subjective.
That's great. That's a good takeaway, and also to approach the learning opportunities that we have coming out of the conference from all the great presentations, is to approach all of that with joy and optimism and to be glad and happy that we all have the opportunities to learn new things. So
absolutely, and maybe bunny ears.
And bunny ears. Andrew, thank you for once again donning the bunny ears. I feel like this is probably maybe the second or third time that you wore some sort of headgear on the show. One time it was a Hannibal Lecter mask or something really disturbing.
No.
What was it?
It was Bane from Batman. Hey, never mind. You're out so out of the loop. Look, I did it because I promised my son that I would do it.
Okay. Well,
you gotta
perfect.
Yeah, Tyler's a friend of the show, former friend of the show. He's had a lot on the show.
I'm looking for some more Chrome tips from him. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be a while, I think.
Let's just say he's been banned from the internet for a little while.
Uh-oh.
Anyway,
exactly.
Maybe you can let him watch the .all talks, and he can become an expert on craft and be a future employee of NY Studio 107. So he'll probably.
His plan is actually to take it over. He's not planning to He
just wants to inherit it.
He's going to do the son kills the father to become the king kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got to disappoint him. It's not much of a kingdom, but hey, whatever.
All right, everyone.
Especially without the passwords.
Yeah, it's true. Ooh. Well, Andrew just used password for everything, just between you and me. So thanks for joining us for the live stream, and for everyone who attended .all. I'll speak on behalf of everyone in the community and Pixel and Tonic. It's been a really cool 2 days. I'm pretty exhausted, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well. So take some time to get your bearings and then start learning some new things. And we will see you all here on the CraftQuest on Call live stream. Is the first and third Thursday of every month. It is typically me and Andrew. I've already gotten some requests for some new other topics as well. There's a commerce episode request, Andrew. So we'll probably do that as well. You can always submit your questions at craftquest.io/on-call or even /NS, craft questions. Get it? And we'll see you all on the next episode. Thank you, John Morton and Caroline Blager, for jumping in after a long morning of .all talks and for hanging out with us. So on behalf of myself, Andrew Welch, we'll see you all on the next CraftQuest on Call. Take care.